in a coach, you said in your introduction that you're a coach at London Real. From my experience with you as a coach at London Real, I wouldn't call you a coach, I would call you a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
because you facilitated the process. You were never saying that, why don't you do this, why don't you do that. You wouldn't really give guidance and directions, which is absolutely necessary in successful mentoring. So, and you did it in a very nice way, and I really liked the way you
You.
did your work at London Real. Um, we had some hard times. You made it easier for us. It's very important for PhDs. Well, for all PhDs, not just for PhDs in STEM, but I'm working with PhDs in STEM, to have this feeling of being supported while not being guided to create their own path, but to feel support all the way. And to learn from that, remember that process, and apply it in the future. Whenever they have to make different choices, they can recall that process and the steps of that process, which is the most important thing. In life, we do not just learn through experiences in our daily lives, we do not just learn knowledge. And actually, learning is a process, and acquiring knowledge is also a process. Um, so we have to find our own ways of how to do this work for us. Nobody can really tell you what to do after your PhD. It's better to find it yourself. But there are facilitating methods like mentoring that can create that environment for a PhD candidate or one who has finished his PhD to plan a career during their PhDs at their own pace and time based on what they find fascinating, based on what they really want to do, where they see their contributions are going to be, and create a portfolio of things to showcase. Because we most commonly listen to graduates saying, I'm looking for a job, but everyone is asking if I have any experience in that job. How am I
Yeah.
supposed to have any experience? I was studying, I'm like 21 years old. How could I have such an experience? So, through the mentoring for PhDs in STEM, this is the plan, to have some action, some outcomes through the mentoring program that one can showcase and say, yes, I have an experience in negotiations, I have experience in team building, I have that experience that is going to be useful to me to follow a career path after my PhD. So one can also go through the things that are most important to them, and then they will start seeing the connecting dots between these things that are really important to them, because we tend to forget what is important to us. We tend to see ourselves through the projections of other people, of our peers, of our academic supervisors, of the society, of what people expect from us. But it doesn't mean that the path or they see for ourselves or what they see us doing is really what we should do. This is not really for us. I remember nobody really thought that in my family, nobody really suggested I should do my PhD. It was all my own decision. It was my decision to go in the academia, and it was my decision to see that it didn't serve me any longer based on what I wanted to do. And now, yes, I had to sit back and think what I really want to do. Education is very important to me. I see that the society is changing now, it's going to change in the future, and I'm sure that there are going to be significant changes in the structures of education and the academia. The academia and its structures, as we have them now, have been determined in the past century during our Industrial Revolution. Now we're heading in a different direction, and the world is more connected than ever, even though the world is not living to the same standards. And we have to, at some point, bridge all these differentiations, all these differences within a society, globally, regionally, because it's not just about politics, it's also about what this globe has to offer to us. What's our population now? We're 8 billion people, right? We all have access, more or less, to information. We can see how people live in Russia, how people live in Namibia, how people live in Kenya, how people live in South Africa, in Argentina, in Mexico, and so on. So we start seeing what people 100 years ago couldn't see, and we see how we live. And then each one of us, through our unique personalities and characters, we have these different ideas of how the world is going to be, and where we must have access to. So definitely food, water, and energy are going to be the determinants of our future, including education. If people have access to information, they want to have also access to education. If they don't have access to education, they might start undermining the value of education, the value of technology, the value of science, the value of politics, simply because many people think that even politics are inaccessible. They're not accessible by most, but we tend to forget as citizens that yes, it's our job to determine politics, and in one way or another, we influence politics. I remember the not last week's episode, the week before then. I spoke to a PhD student of religions in the late antiquity from the University of Liverpool in the UK. And we talked about what happened in the late Roman Empire and the early Byzantine Empire. One might think, yes, who cares now? I mean, why should I know about these things? The reason was because that was a changing world when Christianity started to expand. And the Roman emperors had to adopt to what the empire really wanted. So we can learn from these shifts of what are the priorities of the world, how these transitions are made. Because we think, yes, it was the Roman Empire. We had the Roman emperors. They took all the decisions. No, they did not took all the decisions. They took their decisions based on what the people wanted, because they wanted to have a peaceful society. And that's the aim of most politicians. They want to have a peaceful society. So people demand more food, then the politicians have to ensure they have more food. If people want more education, and this is going to become a pressing matter for that society, then there has to be a solution.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have a couple of questions for you before we wrap up. And my first question for you, as kind of related to what you were just saying, when you're talking about the Roman Empire shifting into the Byzantine, right? And a shifting world. And we're seeing right now a lot of shifts happening. We're seeing the emergence of decentralized currency and digital currency. This is huge. And I know as a scientist, I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about everything that's happening in the world, which is why I'm glad I have you here. And but my first question is going to be